Well, hello, hello, hello. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday. Only got a few more days left of 2025, and here we are ready to rock and roll once again. This time in the 737 MAX-8. Haven't flown this airplane in quite some time. We've been focusing heavily on the 737NG, getting our procedures down, getting our flows down, all that good stuff. And now it's time to kind of branch off and started experiencing some MAX differences. We're going to go over a couple different things today. Man, who's blasting off right now? That's pretty loud. Sounds like an Airbus. Got UPS taxiing behind us there. Hold on. I'll wait to finish my intro. Tell this guy. Yep, JetBlue. JetBlue's getting after it. Oh, interesting rotation there. All right, anyway. So, yes, back in the 737 in the MAX, we're going to be going over some differences. We're going to do a little bit of a flight test today as well on our way up to Mexico City. So, we're going to bring a little extra gas. These passengers are going to be in for a treat because they're going to get to experiencing some maneuvering. Not going to get super hardcore into like a full check flight or anything like that, but we are going to test some noticeable differences that would be on the 737 MAX and just how MAX is the iFly 73 MAX. So it should be a fun one. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you are ready to rock and roll. Route of flight is Guatemala City. That's where we're sitting right here, MGGT, up to Mexico City Airport. Real world weather, but I have it wound back till 6 a.m. It's 6:04 a.m. here in Guatemala. So it should be a good one. All right, D-Doom's in the house. Good to see you, man. Zach Dill, what's up? Josh is in the house. Good to see you. Airborne Geek. My goodness, that was a loud one blasting off there. Love beyond ATC traffic, though. Adds so much life to the sim. Random Hacker, what's up, man? Good to see you as well. Oscar Stick is here. Mike85, good man. Good to see you. Jeremy Harvey, what's up? Good to see you as well. Hello from Texas. It is cold. It was 82 degrees yesterday. Woke up, it was 27. So it was 80, and it was actually 82 degrees at noon, and by midnight, it was in the 30s, and this morning it was 27 degrees. So just Texas being Texas, typical bipolar winter here from the North Texas HQ. So let's get it. Alberto D, my man, good to see you as well. Welcome in, welcome in. Am I planning on checking out the E-Jets? I am. I just haven't had time, man. I love the E-Jets. I've loved the E-Jets from day one. Got a lot of flack for that, flying that around without VNAV, but it does have VNAV now. We will check them out. I don't know if we'll get to them this week or not. Maybe we will. Maybe tomorrow or something. I don't think I'm going to be able to stream on New Year's Day, but we'll see what we got for the schedule. I would like to at least hop in and take a little sneak peek, but I'm all about the 7.3 right now. And also, I want to do a long haul this week with the possibly the 748 passenger variant with FT Sim sounds and one of the best liveries I've ever seen of all time. So, anyway, enough about that. Let's get this thing fired up, shall we? Take a look at it. So here we are in the American 73NG. No, I'm just kidding. We're which one are we? With this bird right here, the 737 MAX. Aero Mexico livery. I really want to shout out the Hughes team on this real quick. This is a Hughes team livery pack for Aero Mexico, so you should probably saw it in the thumbnail. Absolutely fantastic attention to detail. Hughes are one of the best. They have 3 separate liveries. You've got this one, you've got the classic red stripe, and then you also have like an ex-Norwegian 73 MAX that Aero Mexico has. So this is the Hughes livery. Shout out to them. They are absolutely crushing it when it comes to liveries, custom texture work on the slats and stuff, which is pretty neat. Makes it just look a little bit more a real life. Look like the fuel panel is down there. That's pretty cool. I've never actually seen that here on the fuel panel. Wow, that's pretty detailed. That's actually pretty good. Pretty cool stuff. Maybe we have to do a walk around here in shift C mode. Anyway, let's fire it up. One of your favorite livery packs, Sandman? I agree with you, man. It's pretty dang good. Now, I will say the cockpit texturing here in this lighting is a little bit interesting. We're getting blasted from the terminal building here from the FlyMex Scenery Guatemala, which is awesome as well. But how do I get the fuel thing? I've enabled the fuel through my EFB. We're going to go ahead and initialize flight. Now, what I'm going to be doing here side by side is I've got my flight plan. I've also got my real-world charts on my own EFB because this EFB is just kind of a pain to hassle. It's so much easier to navigate the real-world charts that I have, so I probably won't show too many charts on the screen, but I do have my flight plan and everything right next to me here on my real-world tablet. So without further ado, let's make sure the sim sounds are up. It is Boris Audio Works on this sound set, which I really do like. So we'll make sure the sounds are up, and then we're going to go over some additional items. So we'll come into the cockpit here. We're going to check for our emergency equipment again, circuit breakers, all that good stuff, fire extinguisher, circuit breaker panel, and then we'll head up to the overhead. We'll notice that there's no power on the aircraft, so same power up procedure with the MAX. We'll go ahead and turn the battery switch on. That will automatically close. We've got the standby power is out, alternate flaps, electric hydraulics. We've got 3 green light down there, so we can go ahead and connect to the ground power bus. The ground power bus connected. I'm going to go ahead and panel brightness up here a little bit. We'll get the dome light on to dim, and we'll also get some panel backlighting going on right here as well for the 7.3 MAX. We'll clear the master caution. I need to iFly to ditch the alpha EFB before this plane again. I know Captain Overspeed. Some people like it, some people hate it. I don't know. I think it would have taken more work to do this than just create a regular EFB that's pretty intuitive. I mean, I see what they did. They tried to simulate the old school Boeing EFB. And I mean, it works, but it's very clunky. It's not efficient at all. So I don't know. But I have heard that they're going to make a new one, right? So at least you've got that going for us. But all right, so first things first, up to the overhead, we're going to start noticing some differences as we begin our origination flow. Elevator jam landing assist. This is pretty cool. We're going to take a look at this in flight as well, see if it's modeled or not. Again, I'm just going to be going through some MAX differences that I'm aware of now, and we're going to test them on the sim. We've put the PMDG through some testing paces. So a lot of people like to throw shade at PMDG, and they praise the iFly MAX, and I'm kind of in the middle. I like both of them, but now that I know more about the 7.3 and the MAX, that we're going to go ahead and do some more testing. Now, one thing I did notice here, why are my panels aren't lit up here? Give me a second. My wind wing stuff is not initialized. Why aren't we initialized? Hold on, let me restart SimApp Pro. SimApp Pro does work with the iFly. At least it was. Let's see. Reboot it here. That's all. Game launching place. There we go. Panels are up to life. There we go. We're good. Just had to reboot SimApp Pro. Okay, cool. Ground power, yeah, we are on ground power bus. We got that. So, back up to the overhead. Max flow elevator jam landing assist. Essentially, what this does is it's almost like a DLC, sort of a Temu DLC off the L1011. But essentially, what happens is it pops the spoilers up, and when you pitch, when you try to pitch up, it deploys the spoilers higher. And push forward, it retracts them. It's pretty cool. We'll go over that. I might have had that backwards, but it basically helps you control the pitch of the airplane with no elevator. All right, ELT arm switch. Make sure that's in that position there. Let's go ahead and get these into align nav. Align nav. We'll go ahead and throw you over to the STS page. We got the align lights on DC. On DC, they should extinguish here. Doing a little battery self-check. There we go. Wonderful. Service interphone is off. Dome lights on. 3 green lights. Oxygen. We know what we do when we come to the oxygen. We'll come down here. We'll do our oxygen check. So we'll do a push to test. Very good. Emergency 100%. Cool. And we're going to leave that in 100, and we'll do a reset right there of the oxygen. So we'll consider that checked. I'm going to set my FO view right here as well for checklist reading. All right, FO captain view, beautiful. Back up to the overhead as we make our way across. We've checked that. There is our pressure. Normal oxygen is stowed. Don't deploy the mass. EEC switches are on. Broadband system, this should be on right now, but that's fine. Flight recorder, you can run test, extinguishes the light, and then it should go back. Wonderful. Mach airspeed warning 1, airspeed warning 2, stall, shaker 1, shaker 2. XP72 in the house, what's going on, man? Good to see you, Mr. XP72. Hope all is well. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas, man. Welcome to the stream. All right. Across the panel. Now we're going to come down here and we're actually going to check. I'm going to go ahead and throw you into FMC for a minute. ACARS, it doesn't work. We'll go FMC over here. Actually, does data link work? Okay. We'll just throw you in FMC as well. We're going to go ahead and check the oil quantities. So we're going to go oil, make sure we are above 14 quarts in the max. We got 22. That looks good. You can check on the system page. It's in percent, 99.98. So they're pretty much maxed out there, but that looks good. So engine oil quantities are checked. Come back down here. We'll throw the parking brake on, which it is. And we'll check the emergency gear extension door, which is selected. Check our yellow book, couple other things, and head outside, do our pre-flight walk around. And just before we do the pre-flight walk around, let's go ahead and do the secondary flow to the overhead now, which is you're familiar with. AB switches are down, low pressure lights on loom. We'll go ahead and run that on. You'll see there's going to be a couple different backgrounds switches here, which is pretty cool. The iFly team actually got all that stuff right about the different lighting configurations on the overhead for the MAX versus the NG. Yaw damper lights out. Navigation is all in the normal displays. Auto, spar valve lights are illumined dim. Fuel pumps are off. Come back over here. We'll check the ground power generator. That looks good. I'll put you on battery. Let's go ahead and get cabin utility and IFE on. Drive lights are on. Gen off light buses are illuminated. Lavatory smoke light right there. Cool equipment cooling is in normal. We'll go ahead and arm the emergency exit lights. Fasten seatbelts can stay off. No smoking will stay on. We'll get the window heat. 1, 2, 3, 4 probe heats off. We got the aspirator TAT probe here with the TAT test switch. That looks good. Hydraulics are off. Got some doors open. Pressurization is normal. Oops, didn't mean to hit that. CVR test in the green. Wonderful. 0, 0. Up to the bleed panel. Trim air on. We've got, you notice there's no ram door full opens. Those are all missing. Those are all gone. That doesn't exist in the MAX, which is correct. Recirc fans are in auto. Packs are set as required. Flight, I think we're going up to 380 while I'm looking at it, so I'll put 380 there. And our landing altitude real quick. Let me pull out my real-world Jeppesen charts to see the touchdown zone here for Mexico City. I know it's up there. Mexico City is going to be 7292, but remember, if it's above 4,000 feet, we just set 4,000 max here. So we'll set 4,000 in the landing elevation. We'll have to reset this once we climb away from the ground. All right, so 4,000 is set. We're in auto. We'll go ahead and get the logo light on and the position light into steady. That looks good. Today is the 29th, so we'll use ignition left today. Coming across the main panel over here, we're going to do the same thing as we normally do. Get the flight director, auto throttle, flight director switches are all coming on. I can turn some background lighting on for that, and the AFDS floodlight, main panel light, we'll get those juiced up here as well. We'll throw terrain up. Weather radar does not work in the 737 MAX, unfortunately. Coming across the board, everything else looks good. You'll notice we have no nose wheel steering switch. That's been moved over here to the center. Makes it easier for both pilots to reach, which makes sense. If you have nose wheel steering problem and you're the first officer trying to assist, you can't really reach that switch over there, so makes sense to put it over here. You'll notice our test switches are now here. We've got 2 and 1, ambers and red associated. We've got a couple different lights. We've got speed brake do not arm and speed brake armed. You can do the tapes and 8s right here. Check all those speed brakes extended, low glide slope limit, all that good stuff. That seems to be tested and work appropriately. Make our way back around the panel here, clear that master caution. Main panel brightness on the FO side, since we care about him, we'll do that. Runway system test there. They're both in up because we're not aligned. Everything is closed and guarded. That's associated. Now is our center pedestal. Boeing decided that because you've got 2 massive screens, you don't need the third DU here, so they put all the switches that typically were here, they put them right here. So we'll go fuel flow, reset, back to rate, auto brakes, RTO, self-test, extinguishes, beautiful. Brake pressure is just below the green arc there, but that's because we don't have anything juiced up with the electric hydraulics. Moving down the center pedestal, let's do the fire test. Fault, detect, now we'll do the overheat. 1, 2, 3, wheel well fire, got the overheat, that checks, reset. Cargo fire test. Hope I skipped one, but we'll do this while we're at it. 1, 2, got our green lights, let's do the bottles. Left and right. All right, VHF, we'll turn you on 1. VHF 2 is set. We'll squawk 2,000. Now what's interesting is in the 737 MAX-8 here from iFly, I don't know if you can change... Actually, no, it's right. Yeah, it's good. What happened to the... Oh, okay. Never mind. Disregard. I was going to say... Got it backwards. Anyway, All right, that looks good. Make sure aileron is in a 0. Stab trim is a normal override. We'll put it in the normal switch. We're also going to mess with that later. Okay, so our initial flow has been completed. Let's go ahead and get the FMC aligned. So we'll go pause and knit. We're going to take the GPS left position and bring you back. Throw it in here. Wonderful. And then let's go to the route page and request our flight plan. At the same time, we'll take a listen, see what's going on. We got Jeff Faviano working the radios for us today. All right.
Temperature 15, dew point 13, QNH 1021, altimeter 3015,
Magic barrel
landing and
set.
departing runway 02, transition level 200, 5G, notice in effect,
5G NOTAMs.
advise on initial contact. You have information golf.
Information golf. All right.
La Aurora Airport inform.
Let's go ahead and give him a call.
Air Mexico 357 on our way to Leaks Benito Juarez.
Aero Mexico 357, lay Aurora delivery, expect runway 02, Calpatri Alpha departure. Squawk 5764.
Calpatri Alpha departure. Squawk 5764. Aero Mexico 357.
All right, 5764.
Aero Mexico 357, read back correct. Contact ground 121.9er when ready for pushback or engine start.
We'll contact ground 121.9er when ready for pushback or engine start. Aero Mexico 357. Bye-bye. Thanks.
You're
All right,
welcome.
going
Have a
back
great
into
flight.
Mexico City, we're planning the Yankee 5 right, so ILS Yankee 5 right off of Upton. And we're coming down the Naga 3 Alpha. Execute that. Route page. I'm going to look at the legs page here real quick. Let's go ahead and step through this. So let's go ahead and get this over to the FO side, and we'll throw you into plan mode so we can take a look at our whole flight plan here. So we'll step through this, blast off all the way up. We're going up to the northeast side of Mexico, central Mexico. Takes us out over the water to join the arrival from the east with the ARC, Almis, Ucting, all the way in. That looks wonderful. So that is set. Let's go back to the N1, or excuse me, the Perfinit page. Throw you back into map mode. You can see we got our terrain is now blasting because we are aligned. All right, so that looks good. Now, we need to do some weight balance. This is where it gets interesting. So we're going to go payload and performance, weight and balance information. And now I'm going to copy this off of my my real world flight plan that I have here from us. We're going to scroll all the way down. Passengers today, we had 132. So we're going to go total 132. All right, 132 as far as cargo is concerned. We've got cargo weight 4620. We'll throw that in the aft. 4620. All right. So set payload, and then for fuel, we need. I'll scroll all the way back to the top here. Way easier than navigating through the menus of this thing. Total block fuel today for our flight required is 18,151, but let's throw on an extra 2,000 for our maneuvers. So let's go ahead and go total fuel 20,151. All right, set fuel complete. All right, that gives us takeoff weight 149,824.1. So refueling is complete. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and get center tank pumps on, fuel tank pumps on, fasten seatbelt sign on, and we'll take a listen outside, and we'll do a little walk around as well after I spool up the Apu here. Boris APU. Have I tried Saint Tensions? No. Nah, man. It has nothing that Beyond ATC has that I want. It's focusing on what I'm not interested in. Bills Mafia, 2 years, my man. Thank you so much for the support, dude. 2 years of talking smack about the Bills Mafia. Appreciate you, dude. Time flies when you're having fun. Amen to that, dude. Alright, we got our spooled up here. Now, while we're looking at it, you'll notice the APU door on the Max, completely different. Full open, what is it, 45 degrees, I believe, something like that. So that is correct. We got the double tail skid there, which is modeled actually pretty nice there. Here's our outflow valve. Let's go back inside. You'll notice there is no APU EGT gauge either. So you just have the door, the fault light here would open up if the door was not where it's supposed to be in the commanded position. But we'll go ahead and get the aircraft on ground power. With it on ground power, we'll take note of the time. We'll give it at least 3 minutes. Now, one thing that this airplane doesn't do that the real Max does, at least ours, is automatically configures the block clock, which is pretty cool when you lift off. So I don't know if that's a configurable option in this or not, but anyway. All right, let's finish up loading the FMC, and then we'll hop outside for a quick pre-flight. Reserve fuel today is 2,000 plus 4 kids. We're going to call it 2.4. We'll throw that in the box. Let's see, 2.4 cruise is 380. That all checks. Let's go. We've got a gross weight of 149 and 24.1 CG. Now, also notice here the fuel plan. We've got sensed fuel. This is a Max thing. They've got this simulated correctly here. So there's actually multiple different fuel loads. You can do sensed fuel, pilot input fuel, or just there's one other one I can't remember off the top of my head, but this is correctly. Sense fuel is the normal, and you would just verify that 20.1 is indeed on board and balanced, and it's checked. You don't have to put the plan fuel number in for today's purposes. And one limit for takeoff today, we're not going to derate. You'll notice the derate is also different from the NG. We've got a 28K thrust, and we've got a 10%, 20% reduction. Depending on your configuration, you may have a 29K bump. Which we are going to do today, because why not get the absolute maximum thrust possible with the Boris Audio sound pack. So we're going to do a 29K takeoff bump, but it is nice to know small detail here is simulated correctly. We'll do regular climb, derate, takeoff, and one bump thrust 97.2. That checks. We'll go over to the takeoff page. I'm going to verify we are using flaps 5 here on our TPS. I'm going to scroll on my real world EFB. Performance numbers are... This is how we would do it real world too. We wouldn't actually use the uplink speeds, which I find interesting. But for 0-2, bleeds on all the way up to 175.2. We're good flaps 5. So we're going to do flaps 5. We'll bring our CG over 24.1, 5.93. That auto trim is a feature from the EFB. The aircraft doesn't do that real world, but it's I have that selected on the auto trim function selected on there in the EFB. 5.93 stab units, and then we'd actually verify our own speeds and put our own speeds in the box. But for sim purposes, we're going to highlight these 37, 39, 47. We'll throw 147 in the number 2, 147. Initial climb is going to be, we'll have to take a look at the SID, but we're blasting off runway 02. So I'm going to spin these over to 020. And actually, I can use my real world charts because it's so easy to flip back and forth. What is the runway course line for 02? It is it's actually 017. 017, heading 017. And 017. Also, one thing in the Max, what we need to do is we need to set engine out acceleration altitude in the baro ref, which I will do here. All right, so let's go ahead, and we are sitting at 4960, so we're going to call it 1059.60. So we'll go baro. Flip you over to the baro mins, and I think my Windwing Boeing, what's going on here? Why are we not going the other way? What's going on with that? That's annoying. Okay, well, I'm not going to sit there and try to scroll that. So disregard that. Okay, but we would set engine out, acceleration, altitude, and the barrel ref. I don't know what... you have to mouse wheel this? Hell no, man. I ain't got time to mouse wheel this. Maybe it's one of those wonky P3D port key bindings. Yeah, there's no way we're going to sit here and scroll this up to 5960. So we'll just go ahead and throw that off. We'll reset, turn that off, but that's what you would do in the real airplane. They modeled the left and right click properly. Right click is not working. It must be a configuration to get around the P3D key bindings, which is not. I can left click it, but I can't right click it. So that's part of the configuration that you have to change in iFly Manager. It's not native to Microsoft. That's indicative of P3D porting. So we'll go ahead and reset that, leave that off. I don't have time for that today. But when I do have my FMC or my EFIS window, then I'll be able to scroll that in. But you would put engine out, acceleration, altitude in your barrel ref, so you have just a visual cue. All right. Anyway, so our MCP is set. We'll actually be VNAV and LNAV off the ground. The initial altitude on the SID for Kapla is 16,000. All right, 16,000 is set. We're pretty much ready to go. Nope, click and drag. I tried Romulus. Doesn't seem to work either. Again, I think it's there's a way you can configure it in the iFly Manager, but we'll be fine. We will survive. We will survive. All right, I think we're all pretty much set up. Fueling is complete. Let's run a before start checklist, please, to the line. Okay, parking brake set, oxygen check, navigation, transfer and display switches, normal and auto, window heat is on. Pressurization, auto and set, terrain display selected, MCP set, displays checked, auto brake, RTO, fuel quantity and distribution, 20,100 pounds and checked, CDU checked, engine start levers, we got the new cutoff switches, they are in cutoff. Transponder, TARA, aileron and rudder trim 00, departure briefing completed, fasten seatbelt sign is on. APU is on, buses, fuel panel set, flight forms AML onboard accepted, aircraft is Mike Alpha Quebec, PED's off. Before start checklist to the line. And if we go outside, I hate when I do that. We'll just go back inside. There we go. We're gonna go ahead and pull all the other stuff up. I'm gonna, for the sake of time, we're gonna skip the walk around. But yeah, we're gonna skip the walk around mode for the sake of time. I was gonna do a quick little pre-flight, but we'll save that for another flight because we got more. I want to do more stuff to do up in cruise. So with that all done, let's go to the super intuitive EFB systems page, sim menu, look for ground support. We're going to pull the chocks off, disconnect electric, disconnect air conditioning, disconnect fueling. I'm going to set that before I forget. Page down, disconnect the forward air stair, disconnect the aft air stair. Page down. That's disconnected. And everything else is good. So we'll set that. Now we go back. We'll go to the doors page, and we're going to close that door. Page down, close, close, close. Refueling is complete. Let's go ahead and do our before start flow. So we'll jump up to the overhead here. Let's go ahead and probe switches, auto, electric hydraulics are on. Bleeds are set, APU is coming up, packs are off, door lights out, anti-collision light is on, verify system hydraulic pressurization, it is back to, we'll leave that up for engine start. Flight deck door is closed and locked. Give them a call.
Aeromexico 357, gate 10, request pushback.
Aeromexico 357, La Aurora ground, pushback approved. Face south.
Pushback and engine start approved. Face south, Aeromexico 357.
You flipped the probes into on but called auto? Well, my bad. Get out of here. What are you, check airman? Hotshot, what's up, Boris? Is in the house, man. Good to see you. This isn't pmdg. It's not pmdg, but this is your Boris Audio Works, which is pretty epic, man. Do love the sounds on this. Before start checklist below the line, probe heat is on, hydraulic panel set, doors, windows closed, locked, anti-collision is on. Before start checklist complete, I'm going to hit Alt P, park brake released. And when we get ready to push here, I'm going to kind of go over. So differences in engine starting. You guys are familiar with the motoring. by now. Couple different methods, I guess, for engine starting. I'm going to start the MAX like our SOP calls for. We do not flip the fuel switch until the motoring icon has extinguished from the display here. Now, while it's motoring, the reason the MAX motors, long story short, these engines are really sensitive to tolerances, and it's called bowed rotor motoring. So what happens when you shut down the engine, the heat rises to the top of the engine. It creates a sag in the shaft, which then can create issues with the super tight tolerance of the engine because it is so efficient. So what we do now for engine start is we got to motor the engine to help cool the engine equally for all the thermal properties and all that fancy engineering and physics stuff. Essentially, long story short, the engine motors, we wait till motoring extinguishes, then we can introduce fuel. A couple of things that you'll notice here on the MAX is the EGT will be a little bit faster or more rapid rise than EGT in the MAX. They do start hotter than the NGs. And it does have all the same, auto fault protection and all that stuff. So it will, if it detects a hot start, hung start, all that stuff, it will tell you what's up. The starter limitations are a little bit different on the MAX than the NG, but it doesn't really matter because we're not planning on having any starter issues today. But yeah, dual cooling on the 737 is not a thing. No, it is not. And the start motoring will actually depend upon that particular flight day, how hot the engines are, and et cetera, et cetera. So it won't always be the same start time every single time that you start up. It can take up to 90 seconds to start a single engine. AJ, thank you for the $3 super chat. They have pills to help with shaft sagging. Yeah, that is true. They do have pills to help with shaft sagging. I'm sure you're all familiar with those, AJ. All right, let's go ahead and start number one. We're going to do it like we always do because I want to listen to the startup sounds. But then number two, we'll start from the cockpit view and we'll monitor the start sequence for the MAX differences. So first things first, we'll go ahead and ground engine 2. Grounding 2. And you'll notice N2 is on the rise. Take a listen. You notice it's going to start motoring, and there's our motoring icon right there. We're going to wait till motoring completes, and then we're going to introduce fuel at max motoring greater than 20% N2. You might see a small EGT increase as well. Vodka, it's a, well, it's because it's a 2020 scenery, man. All right, motoring light is extinguished. We're at max motoring above 20%. You'll notice we do have some N1 rotation there. Or excuse me, some EGT, and we do have some N1 rotation as well. Fuel on, and then we'll take a listen. Boris. Boris, how I've missed your engine starts. Xander, so Boris Boris sounds are default on the iFly. They're iFly default. Yep. So Boris AudioWorks did the sounds for the iFly. All right, do not attempt to connect the generator until the engine is stabilized and EGT has stabilized. So now we'll go ahead and throw generator 1 online. Now we're going to start engine 2 from the cockpit view. We're going to make sure we have the parameters. So start switch to ground. You'll notice we get starter valve open, low oil pressure light. N2's on the rise. Keep an eye on those EGTs. There's our motoring light. See, we do have a little bit of N1 rotation. The start valve light remains open. There goes the motoring light as extinguishes, but do not introduce fuel yet. We still have N2 rise. We want to make sure the N2 stabilizes. All right, N2 is stabilized. We're above 20%. Fuel on. There goes the fuel flow. There's the light off. EGT is rising. Now this red tick will stay here throughout the duration of the engine start. Look at that, 63% N2. Did you hear it tick off? So different to the 56% N2 from the NG. So you notice that little tick for it to go back to off the start sequence there. So the small little detail, they do have that correct. That's nice to see. Engine is stabilizing. EGT is coming down. Now the red EGT line has extinguished, indicating that we've got a stable start on engine number 1. Why are we rolling? Park brake is set. Goodness. All right. Real quick, I want to test the trim system here. So, again, we tested this in the NG. I can trim aft and forward. Now, I should not be able to trim against control column pressure. So if I pull aft, I should not be able to trim forward, which I can. So that's a little bit incorrect. If I push forward, can I trim aft? I can. So trim, at least on the ground here, does not appear to be operating as I would anticipate it to operate, but we'll go over that in flight as well. We'll take a look, see if it works. Remember on the NG, we tested that. We could not trim against the control pressure unless the stab trim light is into override. The override here on the stab trim will allow you to trim against control pressure on the yoke. We'll test that again airborne, part of the speed trim system, which for the MAX, actually for any 737, the more I learn about the speed trim system, it's kind of a funky thing. To my knowledge, it's not simulated at all. It's not simulated at all on the iFly, the STS system. Long story short, what is STS trim? It's important to know what it, kind of what's happening, because when you take off in the NG, you'll hear that trim running. You're like, what is happening? That's actually speed trim system. And to make a basic example of what the speed trim system is supposed to do in the 737, it's encouraging the pilot to get the aircraft to get back to a trimmed airspeed. Example, we're 250 knots, level flight, autopilot's off. If I bring the power to idle, what does the airplane want to do? It wants to lower the nose. Well, if the nose is going to lower, what's the pilot going to want to do? He's going to want to pull back, all right? So as you pull back, if I don't add any trim, the airplane is going to want, I have to keep adding back pressure, right? What speed trim system is going to do is it's actually going to trim down against what you're doing to increase forces on the control column to encourage you to lower the nose or what? Retrim the aircraft. One of the key things about the speed trim system, though, is it will be inhibited for 5 seconds after you activate the automatic trim or the trim on the column. So if you're holding it back and the speed trim system starts fighting against you because it wants you to lower the nose, so it starts trimming forward pressure, if you tap the trim button, it'll cut out for 5 seconds. Now, again, you can override it with the manual trim, but speed trim system, that's what it's doing. It's meant to increase force on the control column to encourage you to get the aircraft to return back to its trimmed airspeed. This is true on the NG and the MAX. The MAX has the MCAS system, which piggybacks off of that, which we'll get to in flight. Spoiler alert, the MCAS is not simulated on the iFly MAX either. Now, the RCAS is semi-simulated. We're going to go over that in flight as well. But that's just a quick and dirty what the STS system does. We need to set a trim, which is 5.93 units. So we'll set you right there. Cool. Let me get back to my flow. So we'll go ahead and set flaps 5. We're going to listen to Boris for this one too. Flight control checks since we've been messing with everything. Love it. Love it. Excellent sounds there. All right, so after start flow, I guess we don't have our ROPS is in op. So trim set, flaps 5 set, speed set, 147, 16,000 is set up to the overhead panel. We're going to go auto, 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 off. There comes our bleed. Everything is set up top. APU's coming down. These should be in auto mode, but you can't simulate it. So I'm going to go ahead and move these over to Cont because we do not have an auto mode of the start switches. All right, after start checkers, please. NI says required generators on, air conditioning and bleed set, flaps set, flight controls checked, recall. Check. After check is complete. We are on bus on number 1 and 2, right? Yeah. Cool. All right, call him, Jeff.
Aeromexico 357, request taxi.
Aeromexico 357, runway 02 taxi via Charlie.
Runway 02 taxi via Charlie, Aeromexico 357.
Brakes released. Here we go. We're going to spin it around. Sometimes you don't have time to get to the gym, so you just fly the plane out of trim for resistance training. What's up, Turks? Good to see you, buddy. Got some more Aeromexico aircraft over there. Turks, I just realized that the systems test is on the last day of ground school. I thought it was on the first day of ground school. Whew. I feel better, man, because I'm like, man, I got to stop studying all these practice tests. I'm like, I got to get 100% on all this on the first day of ground school, and then I realized, no, it's the last day of ground school is the systems test. Sim is lurking very yellow. Is that because we're in Mexico? It is. A Mexico sunrise. All right, runway 02 via Charlie. Via what? Yeah, Charlie. Which is interesting because I don't have Charlie on my taxiway chart. It's also yellow turk because we're sunrise. Yeah, I'm doing the sunrise sims. I'll make the right turn here. V1, I just made a plane spotting video. Can you check it out and cruise? Ooh, maybe. Where were you spotting at? Alright, on our taxi out. Let's see here. Verify, we've done all that. That's set. Let's go ahead and do it before takeoff checklist to the line. Takeoff data and bugs. Close out, received, and checked. Flaps 5. Green light. Stab trim 5.9 units. Takeoff brief complete. HUD is, we're not going to use the HUD today. Generators on. Air conditioning and bleeds auto and set before takeoff checklist to the line. I did mess around with the HUD yesterday. There is no A3 mode on the HUD, unfortunately, which I wish it was. I had A3 mode.
American 1188 at gate 11, request pushback.
CVG, my home airport, very big cargo, and I've posted
American
717, 76.
1188,
Nice.
lay Aurora ground. Pushback approved. Face south.
Pushback approved, face south, American 1188.
I will say that as far as PMDG versus iFly in terms of ground handling, definitely give the ground handling win to PMDG now. This does feel, the iFly feels like the PMDG used to feel before they did their last update. A little more inertia in the 7.3NG now. Yeah, Johan, I did. Yeah, you can set it via the FMC, correct? But there is no A3 mode simulated.
Cross runway 02 at Lima. Continue taxi via Foxtrot 1, East, Golf.
Oh, he must have thought I was on the other side of the road.
Cross
That's
runway
all right.
02 at Lima. Continue taxi via Foxtrot 1, East Golf, Aeromexico 357.
Must have thought I was on the other side of the runway there. That's all right. Jeff's got him. The company views us as corporate officers, and the training environment is structured as such. Nice. Well, that's good. I got to go above and beyond, Turk, as a probie, as you said. For real, I thought initially that the test was on day 1 of ground school. So I got a little, I might be a little ahead, but that's okay. I'd rather be ahead than behind.
357. Contact La Aurora Tower 118.
Sean, what's up, man? Good to see you on the vertical stream.
Over to Tower 118.1, Aero Mexico 357.
This is Guatemala City, MGGT, Alexia. Now, any moment now, hold on, before we take off, so my daughter is going to be coming to the office to do some coloring because she's too old for the daycare at the gym, for my wife's gym, so she's going to be showing up here any moment. Give me a second as we hold short. Probably walk in as we blast off. All right, let's see. All right, we're ready to go. Let's see. Done all that. Let me get my SID out. All right, I'm gonna go. Give me 1 second, guys, before we blast off. I think my daughter's gonna be here any minute. We'll do a run a checklist here. MCPND check, runway 02. PA is complete. Light set for takeoff checklist is completed. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. We'll be right back. Watch the beautiful sunrise here. We got a departure hold. Now, ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck here, this got a slight en route departure delay from ATC before we take off. I'm going to be sitting here just for about 2 or 3 minutes. Appreciate your patience here. We back. Chat also had a drop off from got a little special special cargo delivery here as well from Mr. Winwing. All right, let's go ahead and blast off. Brakes release. Wow, look at that view, the sun peeking up over the mountains. My goodness. Wait, what's this guy doing? Merrimack 357, hold short. Flight plan today, Bradley. What's up, man? We're going to Mexico City. Wait, did they want a back taxi down 02? Is that what he was trying to do here? Oh, well, you're dead to me. Let's go. We don't need them right now because we're going to go off course anyway. I'll reboot it later. All right, here we go. Spool them up 40. Yoga. Love it. 80. Rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Fly with. Wing flex looks a little interesting. You'll notice you hear no trimming happening. 10 seconds after takeoff, you would have STS active. Not active. That's okay. We're going to fly the flight directors. Now I'm going to trim her down. Flaps 1. Flaps up. After takeoff checklist. Look at that bridge down there. We need to fly the Huey down through there. Alright, let's get her up into the command bars. After takeoff checklist. Flaps up, no light. RTO is off. Bleeds packs, auto and set. Cabin is pressurizing. APU is off. Gonna trim her out here. AJ, thanks for $5 super chat. A gringo flying a Mexican airline and a Mexican standoff with American Airlines. You need to brush off of your Spanish. I know, AJ, right? My man, thanks for the $5 super chat. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I guess they wanted me to back taxi. Wow, that's a beautiful. I mean, we've flown into MGGT. I don't know the last time we did a departure out of here. Beautiful terrain. If you're interested, it's MGGT, La Aurora, Guatemala Airport. Man, those low clouds, that is a beautiful view right there. When we get up to 16,000 feet, we're going to deviate from our flight plan a little bit, and we're going to do some more flight testing before we head on our way to Mexico City. Our airport elevation was about 5,000 feet. So how I really got to trim it down. One thing I've noticed, I'm going to turn the sim sounds down a little bit here, with the MAX and the iFly, it's almost like the flight directors want to follow. You see that? See how the flight directors follow the pitch bars? That's not how flight directors should work. The flight director should be directing where to put the pitch bars. You see that? I'm going to pitch down. See how it follows me? I'm going to pull back. I'm going to pull it. See, now it's moving. It's on its own. I'm going to pull up. But it seems to really want to follow the pitch commands. Hold on, guys. I'm going to throw the autopilot on here. Command A. Command A. Autopilot's on. I'll be right back. All right, how to get my first officer situated. She brought her coloring stuff. All right, so we're back. We got command day on. We're at 15,000 feet. Let's go ahead and get the lights off here. We'll do lights off. That's off. We'll also set landing elevation. Oh, it automatically reset to 7. Wow, look at that. This automatically reset. I think that's a setting. All right. We'll keep going up to 16 thou, and then we're going to do some additional flight tests. So far, so good on the MAX, though. I mean, there's a couple things that I've noticed, you know, especially the STS system not being modeled. That's a pretty big deal. We're going to test some flight performance as well. According to my references, the MAX is actually a little bit, draggier. Oh no, excuse me, scratch that. That's not correct. Opposite. I'm going to pull out my references here for our descents and stuff. Yeah, rate of descents and foot per minute. The MAX-8 is actually a little bit more slick in terms of descents. Not by a lot until you get the speed brakes out. So, for example, at 280 knots with speed brakes out, typical foot per minute in the NG is 3,100 feet. In the MAX, it's 2,300 feet. So definitely a little bit slower on the foot per minute on the way down. We're going to test all that stuff here in a minute. So we're level at 16,000. This will be a perfect opportunity to do some flight tests. I'm going to go ahead and bring my throttles out of the way. And let's go into manual speed. I'm going to bring the speed to 250 knots indicated. And the first thing I'm going to show you is the RCAS. So part of the roll system on the MAX is it's actually going to assist you and tell you where to roll during an unusual attitude of recovery. And I actually haven't tested this yet, so we're going to see if this populates. What's going to happen is we're going to exceed 45, or is it 50 degrees angle of bank? And then it's, I forget the degree of bank. I think it's going to be this tick mark right here. We're in between these two. We should get a red arrow pointing us in the direction to recover the roll. All right, so at 250 knots, autopilot's coming off. I have control. Didn't really seem in trim there either. I gotta trim it manually. That's interesting. The iFly has always done weird things with the Brunner. I wonder now if that's because the STS is not, the trim system is really not, doesn't appear to be simulated very well on the iFly. But let's go ahead and let's give it a shot. So we're going to roll in here.
Bank angle.
There's a bank angle warning. There we go. Look, that's part of the RCAS. That's it, and it turns red. Okay, so we're going to come back to the right. Recover from the roll. I'm going to spin the altitude window up out of the way because that's going to be annoying to listen to. Let's go ahead and try one to the right.
Bank angle. Bank angle.
There's our right. Very cool. Okay, so that is simulated correctly. And did the flight director disappear? Hold on.
Bank angle. Bank angle.
Yep. See how the flight director disappears? That is correct. That's actually pretty neat. Okay, so that's part of the RCAS on the MAX. That's simulated. Very neat. All right, now we're going to try, I'm going to reset 16 thou, altitude hold, so my flight director works appropriately, and we're going to take a look and see if the trimming is inhibited once we get into the amber band. So I'm going to disengage the auto throttle. Power's coming to idle. I guess I'll resync my heading bug here. So we can just fly heading 270, that's fine. All right, so the next thing we're going to check is almost like a slow speed protection and stability. So the more I read about the MAX, the more I learn and studying the 7.3, everyone's like, oh, the Airbus is so advanced. It's got all this stuff. It's got all these protections and stabilities. The 7.3 actually has some too. So, and this is all new to me, which is pretty cool. That we're finding it out together. But basically what is supposed to happen here, I'm going to try to talk to it before we actually hit it. As the speed starts to decay, once we reach the tiger tail Let me back up. Once we reach the amber band, 3 knots below the amber speed of indicated, so it's about what, 197, so around 194-ish knots, trim up should be inhibited. So we're going to take it, we're going to see if I can trim up or trim down. But we're going to do that after we do the autopilot disconnect here. So we're going to let this continue as the speed decays into the tiger tail. We should get an autopilot disconnect, and that's when the trim would start to run. So actually you can see it's moving. That's not me doing anything. That's the trim. Maintaining altitude.
Airspeed low.
All right.
Airspeed low.
So now nose up trim should be inhibited. We're still trimming up, so that's not accurate there. See, the trim is really running aft. Let's continue to let it go. Should get an autopilot disconnect. There's the autopilot disconnect. Now I'm going to manually, so I have control. I'm going to try to trim up now. Can I trim up? I can. So I should not be able to trim up right now. All right, but we got like 50% of it. Okay, let's recover. We're going to lower the nose. We're going to speed them up. So it's kind of there, but it's almost like surface level trimming system is simulated. There's a lot more. What should also happen is that flight director should disappear. So let's just try one more time. Power's coming to idle. That's our center tank fuel. We'll get that in a minute. All right, so I have control in 3 knots below. All right, trim up. Yeah, trim up should be inhibited right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and speed up. Let's get out of the slow speed. So give it a C- for that. We had it was trying to do something max-ish, but not quite what I would expect from the trim system there. All right, let's get out of the slow speed. All right, now I'm going to test the, we're going to test the trim override in flight now. So it failed on the ground. Let's try this in flight. So I'm going to push the airplane nose low, and I should not be able to trim up. Okay, so that's working. See? Oh, no, it's just no sound. Interesting. Well, that's interesting. It's allowing me to trim, but there's no trim wheel sound, so it almost fakes you out. I'm going to try that again. So I'm going to pitch up. I'm going to trim nose low. So see how I'm trimming while pitching up? That should not happen. When I let go, it resets the trim. Interesting. So yeah, there's some funky stuff going on with the with the trim system there. We'll recover here. Get back to 15th thou. It's like it fakes you out by cutting the audio out, but you're still moving the trim. It might have something to do with the flight model. All right, so there's no need to test the stab. Well, actually, let's try the stab trim override. Let's see if it actually makes the audio. So let's try one more time. So I'm going to pull up and try to trim forward. Look at that. And now it doesn't reset. So the stab trim override, I'm going to pitch down and trim up. With the override on, it's acting like it should. Interesting. I didn't test this before stream or anything. I'm gonna spin my head and go over kind of the direction we need to be going here. That's interesting. The pitch wheel animation may be tied to the input, so it keeps spinning even though it's not affecting the real pitch. Perhaps, Dadrani. It's like they're trying to. I think it's the way they are. They got the flight modeling going with it. The pmdg, interesting enough, works as intended 100% when it comes to the trim and pitch trim override. So so I know it's possible. I wonder if it's part of their way that they have their flight modeling coded and stuff. But that's okay. We're going to keep moving on. Next thing I want to try has to do with the flaps being extended with the spoiler override. But we're going to do that after we do the auto slat. which this is not a max function. This is just a 737 function. So I'm going to slow the airplane down. And if you didn't catch it on the PMDG stream when we tested this, what's going to happen is I'm going to set flaps to 5. And when I get the aircraft into a stalling condition, or not even stalling, a high angle of attack rather, the slats should automatically drive out to full to help reduce the angle of attack on the wing and prevent a stall. So flaps 5 is coming out. We got our leading edge flaps transit light. And when this happens, we should not get a transit light on the ND here. MFD. Actually, you know what? Why am I looking over there? Let's make this easier on ourselves. There we go. Look at that. Much better. All right. So flaps 5. You can see I'm not going to touch the flaps. All I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the power to idle. And I'm going to try to get the angle of attack to increase. And we should see the slats drive out to full. So here we go. I'm going to pitch up to induce this more. We're going to slow down. We had a lot of speed on us. There they go. They're moving now. There they go. See the slats moving? There's a shaker. So we're stalled. The slats are full out. Now I'm going to lower the nose. Do this from wing view so we can see. It's kind of hard to fly from wing view here. See what's going on. And the slats are going back in. You see that? So that is modeled. That is very cool. Very cool. Last test, we're going to do the same test, but we're going to make sure we don't get a leading edge flaps extension light in the test. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the power to idle. We're going to induce a stall here, high AOA situation. And we just want to make sure we don't have a leading edge flaps extension. But very cool. This is something I learned recently on the NG. It's, again, it's not a max function. It's just a 737 function. Pretty cool. All right, there's the shaker. We have no leading edge flap extension light, and the slats are full out. That's very cool. All right, cool. Recover. The last thing I want to test, I really hope it's modeled, is the elevator jam. There we go. Leading edge flaps in transit on the retract. I'm not. I'd have to check that out if that's if it's supposed to be there for the retract. Why is the 8 blinking? That's because my selected speed, it's actually moved it up to 250 now. It's basically for the alpha protection and then for the overspeed protection. So 250 knots is too fast. We're right on the limit. See if I roll it back down for the configuration. See, it goes away. All right, center tank is empty. Let's go ahead and turn these off. Last test that we're going to check, though, I'm going to get the flight path vector to help me out here. We're going to get flaps 30, flaps 10, 15, gears coming down. And this, I think this actually will work at flaps 15. So we're going to try it at 15 first. Because at flaps 15, the spoilers are still down. All right? So with the spoilers still down, what happens when you activate the elevator jam switch, it's going to allow the spoilers to deploy and retract with reference to the control column. Again, this is to help assist the crew in landing the aircraft, or assist the crew with pitch with a jammed stab. So we're going to go up to the overhead. Elevator jam assist is coming on. Assist light is on. Flight control master caution, that's normal. We take a look at the wings. Let me see. No spoiler. No spoiler. That's me doing the roll. Okay, so that does not appear to be functioning. Let me just try it in flaps 30. We're going to go flaps 30. Now, as we go into flaps 30, you'll notice that the spoilers will deploy for the alpha. What is it that the lamb? They appear not to be out at all, actually, now. That's interesting. Okay, so it does not appear to be modeled. That's me rolling the aircraft. Okay, yeah, so they should function. Now, I'm curious, if I close this, I know the LAM is functioned, or at least it should be. Does not appear out. Okay. All right, so that's kind of a bummer that that's not simulated. I kind of wish it was. All right, let's go ahead and clean it up. I think that's going to pretty much do it for our testing today. Flaps 15, gears coming up. Let's clean up the box here. Let's go legs. Where are we looking at? Cabin, execute, LNAV, VNAV, auto throttle, command A. Flaps 5. Yeah, it does have LAM long haul flyer. I'll show you on landing. What the LAM does is it allows the aircraft to come in at a more representable pitch attitude to the NG because the nose gear is 8 inches taller on the MAX to get the engines under there. Captain Chemtrails in the house. What's up, my man? Tell us you're in the MV phase of training without telling us. Captain Chemtrails, what's going on, my man? Good to see you, dude. Right, so is that I'm thinking correctly, right? The jam assist, Captain Chemtrails, it would deploy the spoilers and it would allow the spoilers to operate and control and help assisting with the pitch on landing, right? I didn't see any deflection at all. All right, we're going to continue our climb. What was our climb? 380. Let's go ahead and get all the way up to 38. Now our passengers are definitely nauseous. All right, 380, let's go. VNAV speed and 1 L-. Oh, you don't have Maxes yet? Okay. Ooh, fancy. Yeah, I'm learning Max stuff that Chemtrails doesn't have yet. I feel special. All right, up we go. How's our fuel looking for this situation here? Progress page, Mexico City, 10.2. All right, good. All right, let's turn the sounds down a little bit more, all the way up, get rid of the FPV. So as we climb away, let me go ahead and... Oh, I didn't do the descent performance checks. We'll do that on our descent. I want to compare, and this is something I'm going to want to do on the 7.3NG as well. Just typical descent rates with configurations and the max. So just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So at 280 knots clean in an idle descent, typically the NG is around 2200, the MAX-8 is around 2000, right? Very close. Same with 250 knots, 1500 feet. VREF 40 plus 70 is 11,000 or 1100 feet per minute. So very similar in clean configuration. Where you really see the differences with the speed brakes extended in the MAX versus the NG. At 280 knots, a typical descent rate in the NG is around 3,100 feet per minute with speed brakes in the Flight D10. The MAX is only 2,300 feet per minute. So if you're really used to a descent rate in excess of 3,000 feet per minute going into the MAX, if you end up being a little bit high, that could be why. So we're going to have to test that on our descent. And when we do a Astrojet stream, which I just saw J'Aviation release the Astrojet livery, my favorite livery of all time. It's even, I love Al-Ayyubi, but I think J'Aviation did a better job with the aluminum on this one. So we're going to have to fly Astrojet again. We'll do another test with the NG. But at 250 knots, there's also a pretty good 500 foot per minute difference in descent rate, 2,300 feet per minute on the NG versus 1,700 feet per minute on the MAX, just with descent performance. So again, I want to take a look at that. We'll look at that on the descent. We went over all the equipment displays. iFly did a pretty good job. I really think, so iFly has stated that STS is not simulated. There's 2200. We'll set standard as we climb away now. I believe iFly already stated that the STS is not modeled, and without STS modeled, then the MCAS is surely not modeled. So the MCAS, STS, they're not simulated, so all of those features of the trim running, the auto trim cutout and all that, they don't function. Also, what doesn't function is the stab trim cutout switches. So I did test these earlier on my home PC when I was doing some training. I tried shutting off both primary and backup stab trim. You can see they're labeled correctly, primary and backup in the MAX. Once you put those switches to the off position, you should not be able to trim the aircraft with the electric trim, which it has no effect on the electric trim. So, again, the whole trim system on the PMDG in my testing is very, very well simulated, very well detailed, and it matches with the documentation that I've been studying and learning. The iFly, the engines we've got good parameters, we've got some good stuff in the cockpit as far as the indicators, controls and indicators of the MAX are all there. Handling, I'm not going to speak on flight handling because I haven't flown the actual airplane yet, so I'm not even gonna go there. But as far as ground handling, PMDG, I feels like it has a little bit more momentum now with its latest update, which is pretty nice. If you want to remember what the PMDG used to feel like, I would take the MAX out for a spin on the ground, just taxi it around. You'll definitely notice a difference. But yeah, the speed trim system, MCAS, the RCAS is there. I think I saw Boris say that there's going to be a roll right, roll left, which should be audible in the cockpit when you activate the RCAS. So once that little arrow comes up, instead of it just being the red arrow and the flight director going away, you should also have a roll left or roll right to assist you in the recovery of the abnormal or unusual attitude. So, I mean, it's very cool to see that. The slow speed protections stuff, not really simulated there. We did get the autopilot cut out, which is good. One thing I did test off stream is I tested the APU auto generator trip. So as you're familiar, if you shut off the APU on the ground and you're not on bus, what happens? Your cockpit goes dark. In flight, you get one free reset after takeoff. If you shut down the APU and your APU is powering the buses, it will automatically pick up the load or automatically shed the load to the respective generators. It can only do it once per flight after takeoff. It works in the PMDG, and it does work in the iFly, so they do have that simulated correctly as well. So there's definitely a lot of stuff going on in both these airplanes. Just at my surface level testing here with the MAX, I think the biggest thing holding it back is the speed system. But yeah, pretty cool. It's cool to see the differences, especially the difference in the layout and everything. You know, we can spot the differences. No APU, EGT light. We got door light. The door operates a little bit differently in flight than the MAX does. We've got no ram door indicators. That doesn't apply. Let's see. The bleed light. We've got a bleed light over here. I mean, a couple of different things. Wing body over. That's normal. Filter bypass lights. The reverse command and limited, that's actually going to be up here by the EEC switches. Reverser limited in right there. Reverser command, reverser air ground. That's all. The maintenance light replaces the PSCU light, I believe, right? Do we have a maintenance light up here? Yes, we do, right here. So this would replace your PSCU light. Scober says iFly is supposedly coming out with the Service Pack 1 big update soon-ish, so might see some improvements then. It is improved a lot in modeling and texturing on the previews. Very cool, Scober. Yeah, I mean, the texturing from the cockpit I think is pretty dang good. I've said this from day one. People don't agree with me, but I think the PMDG actually has better modeling of the wing, at least the slat textures for sure. Look a little more in depth than the MAX. So yeah, I would definitely like to see what the big service pack brings. Pretty neat stuff. What happened to 2024? It's ugly? What do you mean? I'm talking about 2024 is goated, man. Let's see. I'm scrolling through all of my differences, bulletins and stuff here. See if there's anything else we can test. APU door, we talked about that. As opposed to the NG where it can, the APU door doesn't have a flight position. It's 17 degrees and 45 on the ground. Emergency descent speed brake logic. That would be something to test on a depressurization. But yeah, here's my elevator jam assist. I wanted to make sure I did the test right. So elevator jam assist. The flap position must be 1 or greater, so we tried both in flaps 15 and both flaps 30. Autopilot disengaged. You activate it by turning it on. The flight spoilers will extend to a preset position when the system is activated. Control wheel steering forces sensors detect forces applied to the control column. A push on the control column causes the spoilers to extend farther, increasing the descent rate. A pull on the column causes the spoilers to retract, decreasing the descent rate. This is almost like a knockoff DLC from the L1011 or direct lift control. Very cool feature. I wish it was implemented because that'd be pretty fun to try to practice that with the landing elevator jam landing assist switch. So yeah, we did test it right. It does not appear to be modeled. The LAM, we were talking about LAM, the landing attitude modifier. So I was always wondering this in the MAX when I was still flying the bus. I was like, why are my spoilers deflected every time we're on approach? Right, I go to the wing view and I'm like, why are the spoilers out? Is my speed brake lever armed or whatnot? It's actually part of the 7.3 MAX, and iFly does have it modeled. We'll see if it works on our landing into Mexico City. But essentially, to understand what landing attitude modifier is, you have to understand that the nose of the aircraft is at a different pitch angle than the NG, and that's, again, because of the engines getting these leaps under here, which is the root of all problems with the NG. All the problems that the NG had, or excuse me, the MAX had, stem from them trying to stuff these engines on the wings to keep up with Airbus. So they had to raise, not only did they raise and move the engine forward, which causes the pitch up moments, which cause the necessity for MCAS, the nose gear is 8 inches taller. So to accommodate when the flaps are in 30 or 40, the LAM function deploys flight spoilers on approach to reduce the lift and allow the airplane to fly at a higher angle of attack for a given path. The amount of spoiler deflection will vary depending on the flap, horizontal stab position, and the amount of error from VREF. The system will start fading in at approximately VREF plus 10. Maybe that's why. Maybe we just weren't at the right speed. Because I know LAM is modeled on the iFly. And will reach its maximum spoiler bias at approximately VREF plus 20. The VREF used in the LAM control system is calculated independently from the FMC VREF value and is calculated using the same weight estimator as the MLA system. Spoiler deflection is limited to 10 degrees at flaps 30 and 6 degrees at flaps 40. Spoiler pairs 2 and 11 are limited to 1 degree. If a go-around is initiated or if angle of attack reaches 4 degrees below shaker, the spoiler bypass due to LAM will go to 0. So if you have to go around, they're going to go ahead and retract to 0, which is a good thing, right? I was wondering what that noise was. It was my grill humming in the background. The second function of LAM deploys flight spoilers symmetrically when the flaps are 15 through 30 and the thrust levers are near idle. They will generate additional drag to allow the MAX-8 to capture and maintain glide path similar to the 7.3 NG. The LEAP 1B engines have higher thrust at idle compared to the CFM56, which is also why our descent rate are going to be a little bit less, right? Because you have more thrust, so it's going to be harder to come down at the same speed. Which negatively impacts glide slope capability. For this reason, the LAM system will deflect the flight spoilers during 15 and 30 flap operation when throttle handles are at idle to provide additional drag and maintain glide slope capture capability. The maximum spoiler deflection by GS function is 10 degrees. When the aircraft is on approach, the LAM commands are held at constant and the airplane descends below 100 feet. This is done to ensure the landing flare characteristics cannot be affected by LAM. Spoiler motion during flare. The LAM spoiler biases are smoothly removed after the airplane is on the ground, has slowed below 60 knots. So below 100 feet, your spoiler LAM deflection is locked. And again, engineers looking out for you, right? You don't want spoilers going up and down when you're in the flare. So that is the LAM in a nutshell. We'll take a look at it when we get on approach. But overall, pretty cool. Pretty cool. There's a new 35A update tomorrow as well. 1 DSC. Oh man, I'm gonna have to check that out. Chemtrailer21 says texturing and modeling matters less to me than an STS system, flight director behavior, etc. This is why the hate around PMDG was pure madness to me. Oh, Chemtrailer, I agree, man. I agree. Like, it's having, you know, when I first learned these things about the 7.3, you know, the auto trip, the flap, the auto slat, I had no idea the 737 had auto slats, right? The trim system, the whole STS function, and then how you cannot trim against the yoke, which makes sense in theory, right? But to have it actually modeled and simulated correctly in Microsoft Flight Simulator is pretty cool. You know, those are the aha moments that I remember when I was interviewing RSR, Mr. Rondazzo, and he said, you know, our goal is so, you know, we have the little things modeled so when, you know, you see something in the sim, you're like, that's what the real airplane does. And for me, since I'm not actually flying the real airplane just yet, but I'm learning about it, I'm like, okay, let me see if this works in the sim. And when it does work, I am pleasantly surprised. It's like, wow, there's a whole lot more that's going on behind the surface of the 737 that obviously, as someone who was not, or is still technically not typed on the 737, I still got to go through that portion of my training. It's just cool. It's cool to learn all these things and then to actually see them in the sim. V1, can you explain the difference between N1 and N2 and N3? How do different spools if there's just one shaft? I'm a bit confused by it. Waffle 343, that's a great question. That could be a lengthy discussion. I wish I brought my engine model to the HQ. I have a little one of those rotating engines where you can see all the lights and the compressors and the shaft and the turbine section, turbo fan. That would be a great question for PT6 stream because I could show you on the EFB. But essentially, N1 is going to be your fan speed. That's going to be the main fan, the blaze that you see on the exterior of your engine. That's your N1. Now remember, when that spins, it's connected to a shaft. That shaft is going to spin other sections of the engine. The N2 section is a series of smaller fans, for lack of a better term for you right now, that are working behind that main N1 rotor fan. And they spin, they're going to spin at a higher rate. That's why if you look at your gauges, you'll notice N1 is 82, N2 is 87. Right? So they're spinning at a higher velocity, and that's where you're going to get a lot of your compression. And it's sometimes referred to as the hot section. Now, N3 is essentially the same as N2, but an additional section in the engine. What has N3? Is it the 7.6? Is Captain Chemtrails here? Does the 7.6, 7.5 have N3? But it's going to be dependent solely on the engine model. Why you would want an N3 display, that I don't know. I've never flown an engine with an N3 display unless there is some, that's where they, the Rolls-Royce would. Yeah, A330 has N3. So does it have N3 and N2 or just N3? So the 7.5 Rolls-Royce has N3. That would be a question for, it's just for chemtrails, someone familiar with the Rolls-Royce engine. I don't know the benefit of the N3 other than the way that the engine is laid out. You want to keep an eye on the rotational speeds in that part of the engine. But the other, like, so for this particular engine, we're in a CFM LEAP. But the N3 is not applicable. We just have N1, N2. I guess it would be specifically on the Rolls-Royce. But when you're looking to go back to your original question about, you know, what's the importance of all of these things. So the N1, that's where you're going to measure your power from, right? Your actual thrust power, we're measuring from N1, how fast we're spinning that big fan out in the front. But N2 is important to monitor the health of the inside of the engine, monitor the health of the hot section of the engine. We also take bleed air off of the engine at different stages throughout the engine, right? So N2 is also going to be the first to rotate for engine start. You know, when we start our engines, we don't even see N1 rotation, right? You just see the N2 is starting to spin up on the inside until it reaches its rotational speed, to which then the main N1 fan is going to start to rotate. So it's important that we monitor that section of the engine. I would imagine if you scale it to an N3 section, that's what we have Rolls-Royce. So yeah, Rolls-Royce has EPR, N1, N2, and N3. Wow. That's crazy. All right, 380, we're in cruise. Seatbelt sign is coming off. Now we can just hang out. The pleb yearns for a PT6 stream. I love the PT6, man. But I'm gonna try to remember to bring I have an engine model that I put together that spins and lights up and everything. That's a cutaway. It's actually a cutaway of a. It's not a Rolls Royce, is it? It might. I wonder if it is a Rolls Royce. Is it really a Max? Dexel. So it's definitely got some Max differences, but it is also missing. It's also missing some of the key components of the Max. Let's take a look at our fuel flow here. Let's see what our fuel flow is doing on cruise. Fuel flow, we're at 2,000 a side. It's pretty good. So it should be about, I think there's a note in our manuals that says that when you're in the Max, you'll notice roughly a 15% lighter fuel load than you would in an NG. So that's just how much fuel you're saving. That's quite a lot. 15% per flight, per aircraft, multiplied across the fleet of NGs that you have. That's some fuel savings for sure. So you can see why there was such a rush to get these engines on the 737. But that's also how the problems came about with the 7.3, with the Max. So a little bit about what drove the issues. We know that the engines couldn't fit under the wing, right, because it sits so low. So they raised the nose gear. But what they also did is they had to move the engine forward and up. So when they did that, a couple of things happened. This is I mean, engineering and airplanes, it's just you move one thing, something's going to create a problem somewhere else, right? So what they were noticing is the aircraft had a much stronger pitch-up tendency due to a couple things. One, just the thrust, the angle that the engine was sitting on the aircraft, and also the fact that because the forward part of the cowling here is up above the leading edge of the wing, it was actually generating lift. So the engine nacelle is generating its own lift in additional lift. Right now, it's not going to be not going to be enough lift to fly the airplane with no wings, but a little extra lift on each side is going to increase that pitch-up tendency. Now, in certain scenarios, particularly light gross weight, high thrust settings, or aft CG, the aircraft pitch-up tendency became very excessive and actually was out of the limitations for requirement for the FAA. So that's when Boeing said, okay, we're going to develop the Maneuvering Characteristic Augmentation System, or MCAS. And what we tried to simulate, but we cannot simulate in the iFly Max, is the MCAS system. Now, how it works, how it's supposed to work, and how it does work now is there are two critical angle of attacks that the NG is looking for, right? So we have the NG and the Max both have a high AOA mode, right? And the STS and the auto trim, we tested this, works the same both in the NG and the Max. But the Max has critical MCAS AOA, which is a little bit above the typical critical AOA for the STS system. So it piggybacks off the STS, and once you hit the MCAS AOA limit, the horizontal stabilizer begins trimming down at a very rapid rate. Now, what's supposed to happen is, once you get out of the MCAS AOA and that begins to lower, it's actually supposed to trim back up to nose up. So in theory, the MCAS is a decent design in that if you get to a point where it can almost become unrecoverable because of the way the engines are sitting and FCG and all this stuff, it's going to automatically run that horizontal stab down for you to get you have more control of the aircraft and recover from the nose high attitude. And then once you get out of the MCAS AOA, it's going to actually trim the opposite direction. It's going to run the trim back up, and it's going to allow you to regain control. Now, the problem that caused the 2 crashes with the MAX is that the data that fed the MCAS AOA was a single angle of attack sensor. And when that sensor started sending faulty data to the MCAS computers, or the MCAS system is not really a computer, it never told it that it was below MCAS AOA. So we hit MCAS AOA, it starts running the stab down. In theory, what's supposed to happen? It's supposed to exit MCAS AOA and it's supposed to stop and trim up. Well, if that data is faulty, it doesn't care. It's going to keep running it nose low. So it ran that stab down, and in the first accident, it was not identified in time, nor was it, did they really have to. I mean, it happened very quickly. It was after rotation, after takeoff, at low altitude. Faulty AOA data caused the MCAS to run full nose down. You cannot, there's only one time where you cannot override the trim with the control yoke, meaning, you know how you can't trim against the control yoke in the 737? Well, in the MAX, the only time where you can trim against the control yoke is during MCAS activation. So even though the control inputs were full aft, the MCAS doesn't care. It's still going to drive the nose straight down to get out of the MCAS AOA.
Aurora Tower, Tango Golf November Alpha Tango, ILS runway 02.
Now, the second accident, the flight crew identified there was a trim runaway. They didn't know it was MCAS causing the runaway, but the same thing happened. We hit MCAS AOA, the MCAS activates the stab trim to go nose down. They identified this as a trim runaway, so they correctly moved the stab trim switches into the cutout position. The problem was that by the time they had the stab trim cut out and stopped the trim from running, the control forces were so great on the yoke trying to keep the aircraft level that they couldn't maintain level flight anyway. So the only way that they were going to be able to get out of that situation was to somehow trim the stab back to a higher angle of higher angle of attack so they can climb away or maintain level flight. And when the stab trim is inhibited, you can't move these switches here. Now, I don't know the details of what happened, but with the stab trim cutouts in place, you should be able to, in theory, pop the little handle out here on the manual trim wheel and manually trim the stab back to a different position. I'm not going to speculate on what happened or what they did because I don't know if that was part of the discussion or not. I don't know if it even would have worked because they were already dealing with immense pressures with the nose down stab trim. What they elected to do was reactivate the stab trim switch because they figured, well, they're still going to be descending with the stab trim cutouts on. We need to figure out how to get some nose up trim. So they reactivated the stab trim. Again, theoretically, below MCAS AOA, it should not run. But remember, it was getting faulty data. It said they were above MCAS AOA the whole time. As soon as they flipped that switch back into normal, that stab trim ran full nose down. And there was no recovering from the aircraft. No recovering at that point. Ended up in the ground. And what really is I mean, it's just a sad situation all the way around. But when do we ever in aviation, or when do aircraft companies build aircraft with a no redundancy or no backup data, right? There was no secondary input for the MCAS system at that time. So one bad sensor, one faulty data, MCAS is running. Now there are 2 sets of data points that the MCAS reads, and if there is ever a disagreement in between the 2 sets of data, it will not run. It is inhibited. And then you'll get a stab trim light up here. You'll actually get where is it? You'll actually get a speed trim fail or a Mach trim fail, depending on what exactly is happening, and it'll be recallable on the master caution when there's a difference between the 2. Even if one is correct, let's say you are super high AOA, but you got a faulty one that is not that's not telling you that you're high AOA, it's just faulted, it's still not going to run. So they added that in there. And also I believe they added let me check, trim override. I think you could override it with the trim perhaps. No, you still can't override it. But yeah, just all to compete with Airbus, right? Get the engines on the airplane as quick as you possibly can because everybody was ordering them. So, what is the CW control wheel steering Boeing? CWS is really cool. It's like an Airbus mode essentially. So CWS mode will allow you to place the control yoke in a position, and you can let go, and it's going to maintain that position in space, or at least that input. So think of it as Airbus characteristics in the 737 with CWS mode. They had 10 seconds to respond. I didn't. Then if not, it was not. I think, didn't they? And if not, it was not recoverable. Which one are you talking about, Andrew? The first or the second one? I know the second one, they identified the runaway and put the cutout switches on, but it was still too late. The trim had already run too far down. NY Lifeguard, what's up, man? Sam, what's up, man? Good to see you, dude. Sam, did you get your lodging information for training yet? Boeing should have never allowed it to be an option, in my opinion. Yeah, well, I mean, so they actually had to. So the problems with that, Sam, is, oh, you mean the option for one AOA without dual AOAs? Yes, it should have been a dual AOA. It should not have been an option, right? Because if you had dual, it would have been a non-event. But yeah, but the MCAS had to be implemented because for certification on the control column forces, it would be too great. So they had to do something. But again, this all stems from shoving engines on an airplane. We got all our lights on still. That was designed in the 60s. All right. Actually, you could probably see. Yeah, you can see here. You see how if I get in front of the engine, let me slow my camera down. Might be a little bit skewed because we got some wing flex going on right now. But yeah, you see how the top of this cowling is on top of the leading edge, how it's raised up. You get creating lift right through here, creating lift here, plus just the moment of moving the engine. If you look, the engine actually sits more forward, physically further forward than the NG does as well. All right. Turn you down a little bit there. You just got the first in with the info. Are you at the main? Who are we following? What's this contrail down there? Following somebody. Are you at the main facility, Sam? It's freaking sold out till June. Where's Turks at? I need to file a complaint. Ain't nobody got time to go to the Candlewood Suites. Thoughts on Level Up V2 dropping this week? AJ, I got to get my X-Plane 12 reinstalled. I might try that. I got to do a full reinstall, AJ, so I'll probably try to start it after this stream, see how long it's going to take. I want to test it. But I'll be honest with you. AJ, I really wanted to fly the MD-11. I watched Q8's pilot stream on the MD-11, and I kind of remembered, yeah, maybe I don't want to fly the MD-11 again. I love flying it. I just don't. It's just, I think I only want to fly the 7.4 Phoebus. I wonder what things would be like today if Boeing had done a whole 7.3 replacement. Well, they originally were going to do the NMA, or the narrow MBA, narrow body alternate. They had an acronym for it. They had plans to make a clean sheet narrow body airplane to replace, or not to replace, but to compete with the Neo. And it was going to kind of be in the 757 range. NMA. There we go, NMA. It was supposed to be kind of like a new 75 or a 797, right? But to my knowledge, I think they scratched that. Who knows? I mean, it's all lock and key under NDA, I'm sure. I don't know if they're working on one or not, but that was originally the plan, is they were going to work on the NMA. But they decided it would be more, it's about money, right? It's all about money, man. New mid-size aircraft, that what it stood for? Yeah. When are we getting a 7.5 MAX or a 7.9? I have no idea. I so wish they would have just done the 757 Neo, you know? They don't even have, I watched a video on that a while back. It said it would cost Boeing more money to do a 7.5 Neo than to just do a clean sheet airplane. But, I mean, how cool would that be? A 757 with Neo engines? You got to find something pretty powerful, though, to, I don't know. What if you put 777 engines on it, or 787 engines on a 7.5? Wonder what that would look like. Just give going 10 years, they'll be back on top of all airplane manufacturers? I don't know. Do I prefer 7.5 with winglets or naked? Definitely naked, Mick Oatmeal. I love the 757 straight wing, man. The 757 straight wing in a bare metal is possibly one of the greatest of all time. There's a picture floating around the internet. It used to be my background screensaver. It was out of Eagle, Colorado. I think it was Eagle, right? A U.S. Airways 757, an American Airlines bare metal 757, and I think one more blasting off at an Eagle. It's just so cool. I love the straight wing 7.5s. But the 7.5 with winglets still is cool. Like, there's no, definitely cool looking. I personally feel the biggest holdback is the engines. GNX is too big. Leaps are too small. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Captain Chemtrails, you're absolutely right. If you look at the E190 E2, I feel like that's what a 757 Neo would look like in mini version. I actually really like the Embraer E2. It looks very cool because it's got the big straight wing with the raked winglet out there. Well, not even a winglet, just the wing tip, I guess, kind of like the 787. It's got the LEAP engines on it, but it's narrow and skinny like a 7.5. It looks like a Temu 757 Neo. But yeah, there's really no good engine option, as Captain Chemtrails said. I mean, what are you going to put on it? Leaps are too small, Gen X's are too big. I don't know what you're going to do. You would need a new engine, and good luck. Good luck with that. Oh, yeah, AOA disagree. You're right, Dim Marja. Yeah. You get the AOA disagree on the PFD. Yep. Too bad the engine is trash. Porter keeps taking delivery and then parking him. Yeah, the Pratt definitely screwed the pooch, man. The 321 with wing looks good. I agree. Yeah, the whole Pratt, everything Pratt really got screwed up, man. Although that's a pretty cool view right there. Although the engine sounds are pretty whiny from the front. Post America West livery on the US 75 was goated. Yes. The 75 has so many good liveries too. So many airlines had them. So many good. It reminds me of the glory days. I firmly believe the glory days of aviation were like 1990 to 2002 probably. That's the glory days. If you got to fly in the airline world in that time frame, that was, you had all kinds of stuff on the ramp. You had 3-holers, four-holers, all the good stuff. Captain McGee, thank you for the 28 months of support, dude. I appreciate you. The first trip in the Bluebird 75 will be out of Eagle. Oh, that will be nice. Our first flight's going to be American bare metal Miami to Honduras. Do you miss the Airbus? Not yet. Ask me in a year. Can you explain the issues with the Pratt & Whitney 1100 GTF that has so many 320s grounded? There's been a couple issues, man. There's the latest one was the defect in the metal coating. There was like contamination in the powder coated metal parts, and the parts that were, it was like a high pressure disc, wasn't it, or something? Somebody was on here actually explained it. But essentially, to replace that part, you have to tear down the engine all the way into the middle of it to get it out, replace it. Then they didn't have supply for replacement parts. So yeah, it grounded a lot of birds, man. Any engines that were made at a certain time frame all were subject to this contamination of the component, and you could only have so many flight cycles on it before it turns into a pumpkin. So that's the latest issue. The first issue they had was with the bowed rotor, the problem with that and high vibrations. Captain Chemtrails, I think any builds TriStar is an interesting project. I hope they can pull it off. Oh my gosh, dude, I am so hyped for that one. Echo 19 is doing the sounds, and he actually got access to the L1011 TriStar experience. So they're gonna have real world recordings to work with. I'm hoping he can nail the sounds. I mean, Echo 19, they did the PMDG sounds, which I think are pretty good. I mean, a lot of people say they're not good, which I don't understand. I still think they're really good on the NG with the Echo 19 sound pack. But yes, if they can nail the sounds and bring that airplane to life with the historical, it's almost like preserving a historic aircraft in time and space, because it doesn't exist anymore, except I think there's one or two flying. You got the TriStar experience and then the Stargazer or something like that. But the pictures they showed look amazing. I thought the pictures look pretty good. Modern aviation, and maybe more modern, but it sure is a lot more bland and boring to look at. Exactly. From liveries to aircraft to variety. Yes, D. Whitaker. Liveries are boring. Airplanes, I mean, you go to any airport now, you're going to see 7.3s, Airbuses. You might see a 7.5 in the States. The 777 is nothing more than a 7.3 on steroids. The 7.8 has a gross nose. The 350 looks pretty cool. That's about it. Stargazer. Just the Stargazer flying now? Oh, man, just the Stargazer now. Yeah, being able to use DLC on the TriStar, that would be a lot of fun. Yep. Yeah, the TriStar is my favorite three-holer, man. S-duct aircraft. You got the 7.2 and the TriStar. Long live the S-duct, man. Absolutely love them. All right, we probably think about our descent here in a minute. What are we looking at? Let's go to progress page. What do we got? Mexico City, top of descent in 176 miles. Cool. So we're good for right now.
Lay Aurora, Aeromexico 357, flight
Nope.
level 380.
Wrong center.
Center, Aero Mexico 357, flight level 380.
Aero Mexico 357, reset transponder. Squawk 2155.
Squawk 2155, Aero Mexico 357.
All right, so we got the HUD. I wanted to look at some HUD options.
Merida Center identified.
HGS modes. So we've got
Mexico
Pri,
357, contact Mexico Center,
IMC,
128.0.
VMC, and A3 mode, which is not available, which is unfortunate. I really wish we had A3 mode. We worked with that in the PMDG, and that was really cool. IMC versus VMC. Get rid of that ladder there. You see that? Pitch ladder. Yeah, we'll leave you an IMC. What's Pri do? Primary gives you more information on your altitude. I want to see. I don't think we'll get the landing information just in IMC, but the HUD is also a little bit less simulated in the iFly. We'll go back to HGS data, runway length. I'll throw this in while we're at it, while I'm looking at it right now. We'll take a peep through the HUD on approach. ILS 5 into Mexico City. Touchdown zone is 7292. Oh, it actually auto loads it. Glide slope 3.1. Yep. Yeah, it automatically loads the information. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, so it's already got that in there. How dare you say the 7A has an ugly nose? It does, man. It does. Did you see the article about American having interest in the Spirit filings, maybe wanting more gates? AADF needs more at O'Hare. Yeah, they did the same thing on the first bankruptcy, man. That's just a nothing burger. Just the media trying to sense. What do they call it? What is the term? Sensationalize. Just the media trying to sensationalize and grasp at straws at anything they can to get you to click on it. Just garbage, man. They did the same thing on the first bankruptcy. It could be because either Spirit owes them money or they do want more gates or something like that. They're just pretty much doing due diligence. But there's nothing. It's a nothing burger. TFDI MD-11 is as close as we're going to get to a DC-10. True. I wish I had the collector's edition. At least I wish they released it. I think they were supposed to release it last week, but they decided to hold off because they found some issues. I almost wonder if they're deciding to hold off because of the PMDG release and they didn't want to be overshadowed by that. Perhaps. I don't know. In Hawaii, you can see 717s and 300s. That is true. Yeah, Hawaii. Yeah. 717s. You can see Hawaii. You can see 717s in Atlanta too. The 7.8 is better looking. 350? No way, dude. No way at all. Does the iFly work with the PFP-3N? Yes. So, I want to show you guys something. I got something. Hold on. So you guys have seen this, right? So yes, WinWing, SimApp Pro, they work perfectly. No need to use MobiFlight. However, give me a second. I need to open something. I got. Oh, here, Layla, you want this one? I'll open it for you. Got my coat pilot over here. Don't tell your sister or mommy. I'll give you a candy cane. Look what I got, chat. I need to give you this cam. Where's this cam at? We have a little package here. Hold on, let me get a knife. Little sneak peek at what we might be streaming later. I want to make sure I didn't just. Yeah, I can bring these to idle, right? Yeah, I like to pull those to idle just so we have a better view there. Unboxing live on stream. I feel like XP72. It's a brown box. Have the juice. Gotta be careful not to cut my microphone cable here. EFIS. I did order an EFIS. I don't think this is the EFIS though. I don't think. If it is, I'd plug it in right now. But I don't think this is the EFIS. This is something else. Just dumped it all over the floor. Right? Drop something. Styrofoam. The suspense. Oh, hold on, I got a text. Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen. This is the best unboxing ever. Well, I didn't want you to see. The Winwing FMC 747. Now, the reason I went 747 is because I'm going to show you guys thought processes. If you look at the 737 panel here, this actually matches the NG. Right? Climb, cruise, descent. But this is an old FMC. At my operator, even the NGs have the updated FMC that looks like the Winwing FMC with departure, arrival, ATC, and VNAV. Well, you know what has a very similar button layout? The 747. We have departure, ATC, VNAV. All of the buttons match except NavRad page. So we have the only one that's not accurate is the NavRad versus N1 limit page. So this is why I went with the 747 panel, because it's going to be the closest to the real NG that I'm operating, and the MAX panel, even though it's a slight brown. But I will still use both probably. I'm probably going to put this on my left side, but also I kind of want to fire up the 747-400 or at least the 800 and do some testing. I'm telling you guys, I downloaded a Vareg livery for the 747-8, and it's absolutely insanity. The livery that this guy did on the 748 makes it look like a high quality payware model on the outside. They painted the flaps the proper way, some new textures, and so we might do the long haul this week in the Vareg 748 with FT-Sim sounds. So, but yeah, pretty cool. We got the 74 panel ready to go. I'm gonna have to plug this in and start messing with it. Is the Dash 8 any fun at all? It is, Gru. It actually is quite a lot of fun. I mean, the FMC is working title. You know, without FT-Sim, I say no. I couldn't fly without FT-Sim. The default sounds were just not enjoyable. But with the FT-Sim sounds now, it's actually quite fun to fly. Flying it with the Brunner, like I've said before many times, the Brunner makes any airplane fly really good. So I don't know what the flight model is actually like, because I can make it fly amazingly with the Brunner. I don't think it's bad. You know, I haven't noticed anything glaring. It can be a little bit aggressive and twitchy in some aspects, but for the most part, a couple test flights I did, I really enjoyed it. So, but yep, 747 FMC panel. Yee-hoo. I might have to, you know what I might do is I might move this one to the left side, start practicing with my left hand, and then I'm going to keep this one on the, put the new one on the right side. I have yet to still get the FT-Sim sound pack to work. Every time I load it up, FT-Sim sounds, I get no sounds at all. It almost sounds like you put the wrong file or the wrong folder in the wrong spot. Because I am very computer illiterate, and I got it to work relatively easily. So make sure you're going step by step. The instructions are pinned in the Discord. Let's see. Mommy's almost here, honey. Almost ready? All right, you want to start packing up your stuff?
Polaris 140, contact Merida Center 128.3. Have a good morning.
Contact Merida Center 128.3.
All right, we probably need to start thinking about our descent here. So let's do that right now. Let's go ahead. We're going to be doing the ILS 5, the Yankee. So we're going to be at flaps 30, 142, 109.1, and 055 on the approach courses.
Aeromexico 357, 057. Contact Mexico Center 125.1.
055 across the board.
Contact Mexico Center 125.1. Aero Mexico 357. Mexico Center, Aero Mexico 357, flight level 380.
All right, ILS Yankee 5 is DA
Aero Mexico 357, Mexico Center identified.
7566. Can't do it the other way.
7042, heavy, contact Mexico
What
Center
about
126.0. Have a good morning.
Center on 126.0, Tampa 7042 heavy, have a good morning.
minus 1,000? Radio, Barrow Mins. There's no way I'm going to scroll this up all the way. I don't know why I can't scroll this properly. 7566.
Mexico Center Air Shuttle 6012, flight level 330.
Air Shuttle 6012, Mexico Center.
Yeah, I can't right click. I can't do anything. I can only left click. It's because the control interactions are not set up for P3D. Haven't tuned in for a while. You flying the 7.3 now? Yes, I am on the 7.3 now, man. I'm in training for it. Yeah, we're going to have to go rad out at 274 is what we're going to have to do here. Again, little things that iFly does that bother me. There's a control option in the EFB.
Climb to flight level 310.
I'll look at it here in a second. Let me. Where is it at for the Barrow? I'll take a look. I'm only 74 scrolls away.
Aero Mexico 813. Contact Mexico
And then I gotta
126.6.
run out real quick.
Center on 126.6, Aero Mexico 813.
All right, 274 in the rad outs is what we're gonna rock and roll. You said there's some setting in here. System page. Go back to that. Nope. System page. Use this back button. Panel style.
Volaris 739, descend to flight level
PFD.
290.
Descend to flight level 290.
RA round dial.
Volaris 739.
Volaris 739, clear direct S
No, that's gonna be
flight level 290.
when we get down close to the ground.
Roger. We'll head direct SOPs, speak, phrase, and flight level 290.
I don't know.
Then resume
Miscellaneous.
on navigation Volaris 739. Thanks.
Intelligent cruise assist. Acceleration mode. No. No, no. Sync the Barrow Mins. That's what I have. Headphone sim. Set the flight 1 panel? What does that mean? I don't have flight 1 panel. I don't have an EFIS, so I can't scroll it. But I do have one supposedly shipped out this week, so. All right, but we're good to go. We got 109.1. Let's hard tune that. 109.1. Mode ILS.
Descend to 17,000 feet, altimeter 3035.
Descend to 17,000 feet, altimeter 3.
109.1 across. 1055. We're ready to go. All right, we'll make this turn. I'm going to step out for 1 minute so I can drop the kiddo
Aero
off
Mexico
the wife.
357. Contact Mexico Center.
And then we got to go over this approach because there's a whole lot of concerns.
Contact Mexico Center 126.6. Aero
Bringing this
Mexico
airplane in here.
357. Bye-bye.
Speed
Mexico
restrictions.
Center, Aero Mexico 357. Good morning, flight level 380.
High terrain monitor. Egypt Wiz terrain feature.
Aero Mexico 357, Mexico Center, radar contact.
ILS Zulu or local laser 5 right. May require descent rates in excess of 1,000 feet per minute. Ooh, exciting. All right. Jump seat mode is active. We're about to make a turn here. Oh, yeah, it's on the iFly manager. Yeah, nobody's got time for that. iFly manager, aka P3D workaround. All right, I'll be right back. I'll throw you on the jump seat, and when I get back, we'll prepare for our descent. Be right back.
Mexico Center, Air Shuttle 6012, flight level 330.
Air Shuttle 6012, Mexico Center, radar contact. Viva 1193. Climb to flight level 360. Vectors for Leaks Benito Juarez Airport.
Climb to flight level 360, Viva 1193.
Aeromexico 813. Mexico Center. Expect Indigo 3 Alpha. Runway 05 right. Expect Indigo 3 Alpha. Runway 05 right. Aeromexico 813.
Alright. Got her picked up. Where are we at? Yeah, we're still live. Sorry. I was doing a little babysitting with my oldest. Alright. TOD Umavo coming up in 40. I'm going to zoom you out. Terrain mode on. Again, weather radar doesn't work, which is pretty sad. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at our approach briefing procedures. For those, which approach are we on? We are on ILS Yankee 5 right. Alright, excessive descent rates 1,000 feet per minute. Choose the appropriate transition, which we did. Due to false localizer signals, delay arming approach mode until crossing MX-901. Plan to be at selected speed VAP plus 10 and in landing configuration before MX-901. We'll expect that. That's for the X-ray though.
Expect a Naga Tree Alpha, runway 05 right, Aeromexico 357.
The X-ray or the Zulu.
Aeromexico 813, Enaga 3 Alpha, runway 05 right. Report ready for descent. Enaga 3 Alpha, runway 05 right, ready for descent. Aeromexico
Let's do
813.
Did she give us X-ray?
Aeromexico 813, descend to flight level 300. Descend to flight level 300, Aeromexico 813.
Let's load the X-ray instead of the Yankee. Departure arrival. I'm gonna go to arrival. ILS X-ray 5 right. Anaga 3 execute. So what that does is it actually puts us on that T intersection, really. Upton. Oh no, we want the shoot. We want the Zulu. What do we put in? Zulu 5 right. Upton. That's what we want. Alright. Because we want 901 in there. 901 mandatory 9,000 feet. Or excuse me. Yeah, mandatory 9,700 feet. On that. Alright. Company arrival procedures. Caution. The FMS is only capable of one altitude constraint for each waypoint, which causes mid-trash between the FMS and the arrival. Compare the arrival chart to the nav database prior to top of descent after a runway change. Compare the arrival chart to the nav database prior to top of descent. So let's go ahead and make sure we got all this stuff in there, and I think we're pretty much ready to start down, coming up on it. So Umavo 38 MX751 270.
Enaga 3 Alpha, runway 05 right. Report ready for descent.
12-5. Tell them we're ready now, Jeff.
Enaga 3 Alpha, runway 05
Oops,
right,
wrong
call when
one.
ready. Aeromexico 357.
We'll set 12,500.
Aeromexico 357, ready for
12.5
descent.
is set.
Aeromexico
18.14.
357, descend to flight level 300.
Descend to flight level 300, Aeromexico 357.
I'm going to just maintain what we have programmed because I'm probably going to ditch them on the arrival anyway because I want to shoot the whole approach. Ucton, we're going to make that a hard 5, 12.5 instead of at or above. Alright. Sutas on the approach is at 11,000 feet. We need to make that a hard altitude as well instead of an at or above. Sutas at 11. MX901 mandatory 9,700 feet. Why is it 8,900 here? Yeah, that's interesting. 9,700 feet. That's a box thing. That's true. 9,700 mandatory, 8,900 for MX900, which is the final approach fix. Glide path 3.1 degrees all the way down. Alright, cool. I'm going to run my real world landing data on this here, see what it comes up with. Here comes our TOD. Let me do my landing calculations. So we are a 737 MAX-8, flaps 30, landing weight 141. Pressure altitude, we're going to calculate that. What do we say, 77? Outside air temp is... Where do we get the ATIS for Mexico City? Is there an ATIS call in this thing here? I was wondering if it would actually give us ATIS. I don't think it does. Approach. What's the temperature for Mexico City Airport for Aeromexico 357? Say 15.
Aeromexico 357. Temperature at Lake Benito Juarez International is 10 degrees.
Okay, 10 degrees. Alright, 10 degrees, thrust reversers, all that good stuff. Calculate. Why are we not calculating? Interesting.
Commute Air 4279. Contact Monterey Center 124.5. Have a good morning.
Center on 124.5.
Trying to run my real world landing performance, and now it's working. 9,000 feet. Temperature is 10. Jeez. Alright, so 9,000 feet required. TCAS, I have control. Someone's cutting off in front of us there. Traffic in sight.
Descend. Crossing.
Aeromexico 509. Contact Mexico Center 125.1.
Oh, he just changed directions? What? Wow, look.
Contact Mexico Center 125.1. Aeromexico 509. Have a good morning.
Interesting how that worked out. Do we need to slow down for this guy?
Aeromexico 357. Descend to flight level 280.
I guess we were supposed to stop at 30.
280, Aeromexico 357.
That's what happens when you don't listen to ATC. Alright, so landing conditions has been set. So this is actually, it's cool to see. This is actually climb command, right? You're supposed to be out of the red. But he's 600 feet below. I'm just gonna let us pass him. It's actually doing, is it doing an automatic RA? No, it's still descending via. It's like, this doesn't have TCAS blue like the Airbus.
Descend to 18,000 feet. Altimeter 3035. Descend to 18,000 feet. Altimeter 3035. Aeromexico 813.
I got a feeling he's going to be a problem all the way in. I don't have the Beyond ATC traffic map, Vodka.
Increase climb. Increase climb.
I'm going to descend below him. Watch this. We're going to go vertical speed. Supposed to be at or above 27, but
Clear of conflict. Traffic. Traffic. Descend. Descend.
we're descending. Yeah, he's going to be on the same arrival as us the whole way, huh? Alright, there's more than one way to skin a cat. We'll do that. Let's go back to VNAV. Should go to 1,000 feet per minute here. Alright, back to VNAV path. At or above 27. There we go. Ain't nobody got time to do TCAS RAs. Alright. Auto brake 3 selected. 5 right is 13,400 feet long. Make a left-hand turn off up there. Actually, does Terminal 2, where does Aeromexico go? Terminal 1 or Terminal 2? Find out. So I thought we would maintain 1,000 feet per minute here until recapturing the path, but maybe because we're so low, it's shallowing out already. Let's see. I think that might be a little bit off. It should have gone at least 1,000 feet per minute to 27 and then went into altitude constraints. All right, here we go. Now she's going to capture back on the path. Down we go. Transition level is 19.5. All right. Southside terminal? All right, that's what we'll do. There she is. There's Mexico City off the left. Pretty bland day to be flying out here. Mike 7, what do we got? Mike MX755. It's coming up next. 18 thou. Fun fact, Ryanair was too cheap to get the 8 cars until 3 years ago and would ask Center for weather every time. Really, Guru? They actually had to ask Center for weather at Ryanair? Why couldn't they just tune into the ATIS? I like the X-ray alpha on top of the wing. Alright, we'll get this ready for landing cam. I think last time we flew here, we flew an MD-11 in here. Almost smashed it. Too far out? Possibly, yeah. What's our first speed restriction? MX755 at 230 knots. Drag required. Speed brake. Oh, what was our descent rate at idle? With speed brakes out at, let's see, we're doing 280. It should be 2,300 feet per minute. Let me bring it back to the flight detent. Right there. That's at 280 knots. A little bit faster than that. Yeah, we're doing 2,000 feet a minute. That's not too far off. Let me do speed intervention 280. Maintain 280, and we'll do level change because I just want to see this real quick. 280 level change. So at 280, speed brakes out. Should be around the 2,300 foot per minute mark. Right now we're excesses of 3,000. It's coming back though. It's coming back. We gotta let it stabilize. 2,600 foot per minute. We also have a tailwind that would actually hurt us in this case. Almost like it's too draggy. Should be a little bit more slick perhaps. Let's go back to VNAV. Stow the brakes. VNAV path. Supposed to be at 18, unable next altitude. That's normal through the transition. Magic barrel ref will reset to 29902. Yeah, it is 29902. Seatbelt sign is coming on. Flight attendants prepare for landing. 230 is the speed out. Let's see how it recaptures this since we threw it off. Here comes the vertical path. Probably going to need drag required. Yes, it is. Help us slow down even further here. Real captains don't need speed brakes. Let's do a descent checklist, please. All right, altimeters, 290902. Approach preparation completed. Pressurization check. Terrain display selected. Lights are... set. Approach checklist. Descent checklist completed. All right, so 230, 18th thou. Looking good. Sounds up as we get ready for this. We also get flight recorder ready. Love that haze out there. That looks pretty good. For me, it's very sad on my part that the 727 in Columbia is over. Ah, man, it is. You know, I'm glad that I captured one of Aerosucre's last 727s doing a takeoff last time I was in Bogota, man. I had no idea it was that close to retirement, but the last time I was down there, I heard the screaming JTADs. I'm like, what is that? It's Aerosucre 727 blasting by, so I got a video of it. We're sitting over there at the terminal. So, pretty cool. But yeah, it's sad, man. That's a sad day. All 727s are donezo. Dom Pellegrino dropping 10 gifted subs. How you doing, my man? Appreciate the support. Hope you had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year coming up, my man. Appreciate all the love and support. If you pick up a membership from Dom, shout him out and say thank you, man. Some pretty sweet videos, man, hanging on the back of those helos. All right, here we go. Starting the arc inbound. MX-759, then it's 18 for Almas. It's 210 and 14 thou. Got to be careful that you don't get slowed down to the point where they ask you to slow down. You got to throw flaps out, and you can't throw flaps out above flight level 200. So we're looking good. Glida Charters 2 has one left in the U.S. they are selling. Oh, really? The old Air Horse 1 needs some more work before it goes. Wow. Wait, even the 0G 727 is done? Is that done too? I know, we should do a redo of the Skibo 727 with the Super 27 vodka. That'd be a good one. Fun fact, the 727 is only 4 years older than the 737. That is crazy, Turks. Now that is straight crazy talk, man. That's why I'm excited, though. This is as close as I'll ever get to flying a 727 right here. Well, not in the MAX. Way too much glass from the MAX for me, man. I love the NG look. I love the NG look. I would be surprised if 0G wasn't flying anymore. I don't know. I was asking. I mean, they got a pretty nice model. I mean, the 7.3 just looks good. I mean, we have to do an Airbus stream. 737 just looks so sexy, man. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's my new home. Ask me in another year or two if I still think it is. Is 0G an A300 now? I don't know. I don't know, Guillermo. All right, we're at a 17. We're at 230. Almes, 14,210 knots or below. What was the note about not arming the glide slope till what? Hold on. Due to false localizer signals, delay arming approach mode until crossing MX-901 on the Zulu or localizer 5 for 5 ride. Plan to be at selected speed via plus 10 in landing configuration. Wow. Prior to MX-901 on the Zulu chart. So selected speed via plus 10. So it'll be 152 selected before we hit the 901 waypoint. All right. Fun fact, when I first got the lamp function with the spoilers of the iFly, I thought it was a bug. Same here, Sam. I thought it was my spoiler detent, like being active or something. Wing flex looks weird. Yeah, the wing flex is not as good as PMDG, that's for sure. The new PMDG wing flex looks really good. This is too stiff and almost too, I won't say scripted, but just said too jittery, I guess. Doesn't seem very fluid. USA Jet still has a 7.2? Oh, okay, good. That's good. And there's still an opportunity to see that. All right, so we got to be selected speed 152 SUTAS inbound in the landing configuration. So let's go ahead and go selected speed now and actually drop that 180. Keep slowing down here. Am I into watches at all? No, I'm not, man. I know Fly Navy is. Alright, let's start slowing down. Flaps 5. No, I wear a watch. I'm not a watch guy. Audio is cutting for you too? Really? Maybe it's a YouTube thing. I got no audio cutting on my end. Alright, we missed our 10,000 foot above field. It's actually, I should have done that at 17,000. And we don't have auto on this aircraft, so we're going continuous. Rare time. Alright, descent check with still line altimeters. Or excuse me, before landing checks, line approach brief, complete seatbelts on. Are they? Yeah. PA's completed recall. Check. Auto brakes as required. HUD set. Ready to display. Set. Crash check before landing checks to the line. Alright, 11,000 octane at 12.5, which we're about to hit. Do a barrel ref update. Oh, what? Now it updates. 3025? Shoot, now we're high. That's not good. So we need to be selected speed 152 for 901, which is after SUTAS. Set A900, clear for the approach. A9 path. Exit the stream, came back, and you have audio again? Huh? Must be YouTubeism. Try refreshing. Make sure you hit the like button again, too. Some interesting building formations over there. Alright, we're going to hit SUTAS, and then we're going to go gear down, flaps 15. Actually, we're already kind of high, so let's dial in 152. Gear down, speed brake armed, flaps 15. Interesting slats. The slats are terrible, dude. The slats are terrible on this airplane. All right, there's our. Is that LAM? No, we're in the turn. Or it might be active. Yeah, LAM is active. Okay, we cannot arm it until inbound, so we got 8,900 feet set for MX-900. Cannot arm the approach until we are inbound from 901. Recording is on. It goes with the Temu Heapler. Man, that looks awesome though. We need someone to do like a super high quality Mexico City scenery, like Orbex. Get all the mountain ortho and everything real sharp. Get all the terrain real sharp. Alright, we're 152. We're going to be 146 for our final. Yana, I don't have my coffee. Take a look at the HUD on this. Altitude alert, 1,000 to go. Try to engage HUD A3 now. HGS modes A3 arm. Might be working now. Maybe that's what you need to do. Alright, A3 is on. Alright, on the approach. LNAV, a localizer captured, glide slope captured. As soon as we get the glide slope, we're going to slow down. Missed approach altitude is going to be follow ATC instructions. Out or above 12.5. 12.5 and 146 now. Flaps 30. Below the line. Alright, below the line. Speed brakes. Armed, green light. Gear down 3 green. Flaps 30. Green light. Landing before landing checklist complete. There we go. A3 IMC. There we go. Alright, autopilot's off. We don't need the HUD though for this one. Too visual. Nope, that's LAM, Marco Fabiano. That's pretty cool. So that is the LAM mode active on the MAX. Had a pretty good discussion on it earlier if you want to wind the stream back.
$1,000.
Auto throttles away. $164 knots over the ground. Love it. Oh, I can see my Mexico City scenery.
400 minimums.
That sucks.
300 minimums. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Check. Close. Hold the attitude. Don't float it. Oh, come on. Oh, my goodness. Deployed. Manual brakes. I'm going to get on them hard to make this right turn here. That might be my best Mexico City landing yet. I apologize, guys. I do have Mexico City scenery. I guess it didn't install, so instead of doing the whole tour of the airport, let's take the right turn here and go to the south terminal. Alright, let's clean it up. Let's do a proper after landing flow as if we were in the right seat. So, flaps up, trim 5. Well, that's interesting. It's inhibiting me on the ground. See that? That's weird. Something funky. Anyway, trim 5 units, flaps up, RTO. We're going to go off the freaking taxiway here. RTO. Logo lights, wing lights, steady, off, off. Alright. Beautiful. B1 Fly Navy landing competition win? I know, he's scared. He's so scared he's actually sick right now at home. He had to call out on his 7-3 trip because he's so scared. Whip those passengers in the back. I know. That's why you got to keep your seatbelt sign on. Transponder should be XPDR. There we go. And oh, I forgot. Flight directors. Do that again. Flaps up, stab trim 5, RTO off, flight directors off. Leads packs, APU as required. Engine anti-ice not used. I hate when you land expecting your payware and your default. Well, what happened is I installed it on SimMarket because I had one from SimMarket, and it says, oh, it's installed, but I guess it installs it to like some random folder, and then I need to go move it into the community folder. I hate when SimMarket does that. But yeah, Mexico City, it's got a pretty good little payware that I have. But I want to see that. I want to see that replay. I love the turtle sounds. Oof. Volanta landing rate 97. A 97. I'll take that. Man, this is looking like FSX. Where's Turkaren when you need them? Midday, no clouds, default scenery. Even my eyes are starting to hurt. The Cutamundi? No, that was at Cancun. Take it to this gate up here. So if we shut the iFly down, you will not have sounds in replay. So I'm going to leave the engines running, but we're going to practice our shutdown flow. Go APU on bus, taxi lights off. Mexico City Airport Lego set. That's a bummer. Maybe we have to take the 747-8 from Mexico City to Brazil. Talk about a long haul. Tutka, what's up, my man? Well, you missed all the good discussions and flight tests earlier. We did butter it. All right, we'll stop it there because that looks like we're going to run into the terminal building. Let's practice a shutdown flow. That's what we've been working on. So it would be engines, which I'm not going to shut off because we won't have it in replay mode. So engines to cut out, transponder standby. Back up here, packs, Off, open, APU bleed as required. Then we're gonna go window heat, probe heat, electrical, hydraulics, emergency exit lights, fasten seatbelt sign. Actually, yeah, I think the captain does that, so then that would already be off, and then those come off. And yeah, that's it. Let's do it. Perfect. But what we're gonna do for replay mode is we're actually going to give our hydraulics back, and we're gonna do that too. We can leave probe heats off, that's fine. Packs as required. Let's do replay of that. Do you turn off the emergency exit lights with people on board? According to the shutdown flow, we do. At my previous operator, we could not turn off the emergency exit lights until everybody were off. So, according to the shutdown flow, it does come off. Let me verify that here though. Yeah, shutdown flow. Engine start levers cut off, transponder, air conditioning bleeds, window heat, probe heat, anti-ice, electrical, emergency exit lights, engine start switches. Oxygen, oh, we forgot to do the oxygen oil check. Arrival report and all that set. So I don't even have thrust. Yeah, you don't have any engine sounds in replay. That's unfortunate. So at least they're at idle. If you shut it down, then you're really off. So replay mode in the Max is suboptimal for sure. Take it easy, Guru. Mr. Canada, what's up, man? Next time, save a panel state as soon as you land and call it replay. That way, oh, that's a big brain big brain move. Wait, you can save panel states in this thing? In the iFly, can save panel states? That's all right. Big brain move. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. We'll do that next time. Yeah, then we can do the full shutdown. That's a pretty sweet view right there. We'll save that one for the very end. Let's run this one forward because I want to get my 747 FMC plugged in. Yeah, that's the view. You got to do Mexico City either dawn or sunset. Midday Mexico City is Dust Bowl. This is the no engine sound option. Them shakers going off. Yeah, flap textures are super, man. Ooh. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. That looked real smooth from the wing view there. Just kissed her on. 100%. I will take that. I will take that for Mexico City. Better my MD-11 landing here when we almost crashed the thing. Alright, reset this. Let's put you into Fabiano replay mode. It was a 97. It was a 97, Zach. Do this view here. Go like this, go down, go here, wind it back in a few minutes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys and gals. We're going to wrap this one up right here. I'll give you the full Mexico City replay coming down the final approach fix inbound from right about here. So you can enjoy that. Thank you all for hanging out. Final conclusion, it is mostly MAX. I would love to see some more stuff simulated, especially with the trim. That's kind of the biggest thing, really, that's missing from this airplane. But we looked at a couple other things that all checked out pretty good. So we might fly this a handful more times before I go away for a long time in the sims. But overall, it's good to get in the MAX, take a look at some differences. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for being part of the flight test. Hopefully we didn't have to use up all the air sickness bags. Until the next one, we might do a PM stream. It's already 2. We might do a bonus stream in the layer or something later. I have to set up some stuff. If not, I will definitely see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the approach into Mexico City. I'm V1. See you.